Good afternoon or good morning, good evening, depending where you are. I'm Isolina BOTO from COLEACP, one of the organizers of this session together with the Pan-African Farmers Organization, PAFO, on a very exciting topic, which is innovation successes from our series, Innovation Successes of Farmer Businesses and SMEs from Africa. And today we will deal with the topic of successes in export markets from SMEs, entrepreneurs, farmers organizations, and so on. And we will look at the various dimensions. Of course, successful entrepreneurs, not having all been easy for them, but they will share how they have done that and how they are in business today and actually quite successful as well. So without a major delay, because we have quite a number of speakers, we suggest a change on Pamela. So Miss Pamela Agnotti Peronasi, who was joining us from Sunshine Agro Products. Unfortunately, she lost a family member today and she's on her way back to her country. So we wish her the very best, I mean, in these difficult situations, but we will get her in one of the coming sessions. So please, as usual, thank you very much for being with us. Put your comments, questions, and so on for the panelists all along in the chat, in the Q&A. Yes, keep your comments short and or your contributions as well if you want to share with us any type of experience. We will have two panels after the introduction by the CEO of PAFO, one sharing 5 models of businesses from different African countries in different actually value chains. And then we will have the second panel more on the environment and ecosystem supporting the entrepreneurs from CATS and COLEACP. And then we will have our DG at COLEACP giving us some closing remarks. So that's how we will organize today's. So without major delay, let me introduce and welcome, as he has just joined PAFO. I think he must be even one of his first public events with us, Dr. Babafemi OYEWOLE, who is the CEO of the Pan-African Farmers Organization, is now in Rwanda. He's an executive and professional with a lot of experience, public, private, non-governmental sectors, also in international institutions. Prior to join PAFO, he was the CEO of the African Agribusiness Alliance and the CEO of the African Cashew Alliance as well. He worked on the Energy Investment Cooperation, on the West African Bankers Association, General Manager of the Banque Internationale du Bénin, and a senior economist as well with the Bank of Industry in Nigeria. He has been assigned a number actually of consultancy and expertise at international, continental, and national level in a number of topics related, of course, to Africa regional policy as well as trade and value chains. So a strong background, of course, on development economics, technology, marketing, and business strategy. So we really are very, very pleased to welcome you first as CEO of PAFO, then as a very strong partner of COLEACP in those sessions. And then we wish you, of course, the very, very best in your new assignment. And I'm sure that it will be very exciting for you and, of course, for all of us as well. So Dr. Babafemi, please. Just unmute yourself. We can't hear you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. There are members of PAFO and COLEACP, they are panelists and the discussants, distinguished audience, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on which time zone you belong to. And as usual, we are very delighted to welcome you to the 10th session of the Innovation Series. From the introduction by Isolina, this is my first participation in the series because I just joined PAFO as the CEO, and it's a great privilege for me to welcome every one of us to this 10th edition and to be part of this initiative. I believe most of us are now familiar with the Innovation Series happening virtually each 2 months. and which are being organized in the framework of the existing partnership between PAFO and COLEACP to scale up the innovations and successes of African farmer-led businesses and SMEs. For today's session, we are going to focus on successes in exporting to the EU markets from SMEs, entrepreneurs, and their farmer organizations. As we know, SMEs and local businesses represent an important driver of economic growth and poverty reduction, and they play a key role in employment creation, food and nutrition security. They also provide opportunities for women and youth farmers, processors, and exporters. These sessions showcase successful collaboration between SMEs, farmer groups, policymakers, research, and finance experts. More than ever, in the context of a COVID-19 crisis and current disruption in markets, building resilience of local businesses is very key. Export markets to the EU or other parts of the world are attractive capacities of our value chain actors to improve quality delivery in local and regional markets as well, especially in food processing and packaging. Marketing is very important. However, we know that there are still some persistent constraints from equipment, transport, skills, standards, and certifications, which remain out of reach for too many of our farmers. In this context, we are grateful to PAFO-COLEACP and many of our partners supporting the capacity of farmers and farmers group to improve their productivity and market access and link to finance to reach more lucrative markets. Today, we will hear from some of our local entrepreneurs who contribute to transform African agriculture and build resilience of our farmers and value chain actors. The innovation panel discussion will inspire most of us. So, as we look forward to having an active and fruitful session, knowing that you can always put in the chat box your questions and comments. So towards the end, we take time to consolidate your questions for our panelists to answer. Also, for your information, our previous sessions are available on the websites and social media platforms of PAFO and COLEACP. As I conclude, let me seize this opportunity to convey our appreciation once again to the many people who have registered to participate in this session. We do appreciate your continued support through your participation and feedback. I would like to extend our gratitude to our panelists and discussants for responding to our invitations. And we are grateful to our different technical and financial partners for their continued support. So without further delay, I would like to hand you over to Isolina, who will lead us with further proceedings. I wish all of you a fruitful deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Babafemi, for joining us today from Rwanda, the new CEO of PAFO. Thank you very much as well, of course, to the organizations that support our work jointly for COLEACP, the European Commission, and the Organization of the Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific States in Brussels, and other partners that we also work closely with PAFO as well in many of the programs. I take the opportunity as well to thank all of you who have replied to our survey, the recent survey we did on the sessions that we held so far, these innovation sessions. It was really very much appreciated. That was one, but you have always the possibility to give feedback through an email that Axel shares regularly with you. So any proposal, any feedback, and so on is always very much welcome. So without major delay, let's go to the panel on really the successful SMEs, businesses of all types, and that we learn more on what innovations they have done, what technologies, what knowledge, finance, investments were needed for the export markets, the EU and other non-EU countries, what incentives they get, but also much more they need to expand the business as well. So without delay, we start with the first panelist. She will speak in French. So Hasina, Madame Hasina RALAY, qui est la directrice de LYCHEELAND in Madagascar. C'est une entreprise très intéressante. Elle est spécialisée, l'entreprise est spécialisée.
Hasina is from Madagascar, and her company is specializing in super food from Madagascar. She is representing the greatest variety of tropical food from Madagascar and the area. The company is called LYCHEELAND, and she has a very healthy food, and she's fighting against food waste. She's supporting farmers by guaranteeing fair prices with eco-friendly approaches, and especially she cares about women who are the main workers and who have improved their income. She has received the Pierre Castel Award in 2022, and she holds a higher diploma in business administration from the National Institute of Accounting and Business Administration of Madagascar. We are all ears, Hasina, and we hope we will be listening and learning more in the next 12 minutes. Hello, everyone, and thank you very much, Isolina, for giving me the floor. So my name is Hasina RALAY Rabena Tauro, and I am from LYCHEELAND, Madagascar. We are specializing in drying and processing of exotic product and superfood. So why drying the fruit? As Isolina explained, in Madagascar, we're lucky because we have fruit in abundance, and this is a wide variety and also high quality food. And in high season, the fruit cannot be entirely absorbed by the market, and so they go waste. And so I decided to start a company. My idea was that we could really valorize the fruit and the produce from Madagascar. People say that we have to consume 5 pieces of fruit and vegetables per day, and many of ours were going rotten on the trees. And so through our activities, we could also ensure sustainable and stable market opportunities at a fair price for farmers. I created LYCHEELAND with my own savings back in 2015. I started with a dryer with a capacity of 100 kilos. Now we have 5 dryers, so a total capacity of 20 tons for 300 tons of fresh fruit being dried every year. We started with 3 employees. Now we have 28 people working on a permanent basis, 80% of whom are women. We are certified from ESHIC, and we have the HACCP certification also. We train and provide support to farmers. They have a contract with us, farmers from Madagascar, and we help them and train them in organic farming, mindful of the environment, of good hygiene practices and fair trade. Regarding exports, we export the vast majority, almost 90% of our production to other countries, 65% to Japan, about 22% to the EU, mainly France, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and Germany. And then a small part of our production goes to Canada. Can we talk about success? Well, actually, when we talk about export to the EU, it is still a small part of our production, but I can tell you already that to access the market, organic food certification and HACCP certification was really a must. And what were the problems that we are faced? Well, the distance, of course, because it is thousands of kilometers away from Madagascar, from Europe. And I can send prospective mails, and there is a manifestation of interest. People are willing to try a pallet, but saying that I'm sending food from Madagascar by plane with all the customs intricacies, this has always been a problem. There is the cost of shipping. So to overcome that, our strategy has been to send the food by containers on ship, and we store it in one place and then dispatch it to the rest of the EU. In conclusion, our activity has enabled to reduce food waste. We were able to create a stable income for the farmers, and in particular for women in a vulnerable position, and our produce is kept without any preservatives. It is, we're talking here about healthy food without preservatives. And I want to thank you for your attention. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Hasina. Especially when we see the number of countries to which you export, a large part to Japan. So that is a question we might address later on. Maybe participants will want to ask you whether it is easier to export to Japan than to the EU. Maybe it's a question of transport. If you can stop sharing your screen, thank you.
Let's go to the next company with Kenyan origin, Elizabeth JEBBY BISCHOF, who is the managing director of Bdelo, Kenya, is an award-winning company, producing healthy maize tortilla chips and tortillas that are 100% naturally seasoned, gluten and preservative-free. She co-founded the company in 2010 with her partner in business, Daniel BISCHOF. Elizabeth comes from a north rural part of Kenya. She's currently in Banrheim. She will be joining us from there. Strong entrepreneurship skills. She lived in more than 25 countries, many of them in Europe, in very, very big companies, General Motors, Barrick, Calbo, with a big chocolate company here, Alstom, and so on. But back to her roots, she really wanted, it's a very nice story, to return to Kenya with her family and really work with the communities, with the farmers from where she comes from, and then start a successful business. So we want to listen to you now, to your experience, Elizabeth. Thank you very much for joining us from Banrheim, one of the countries you export to. And we want to know more about your country. Are you online and can you share your screen? I know it's very hot there. I know some people might not be able to join today because it's also Eid, holiday for Muslim friends. So, but please, thank you very much for, despite all these good things, joining us for a bit of work, sharing your story.
Okay. Just a second, I'm trying to, okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Isolina and your team. Thank you very, very much for giving me this opportunity. It's truly an honor and a privilege to join this wonderful session. It's always a compliment, especially for companies my size, to be recognized and to be given an opportunity really to share our stories. So thank you, everyone. I'm greeting you all from the Kingdom of Bahrain in the Middle East. So my company, as Isolina said, is Bdelo. It's we established in Kenya, in outskirts of Nairobi. As she mentioned, I'm from the North Rift or the north western part of Kenya. And I grew up on a farm. My family were among the first commercial farmers in that region. So I'm really delighted to present Bdelo. Our company was incorporated in 2010, and it's an award-winning regional market leader also in the production of healthy and tasty snacks and foods. We have established an office here in the Middle East in 2019 to start to introduce our products here in this region. So where I am speaking to you as now. Our vision as a company is to nourish and delight our customers while contributing to the development of our local opportunities. Our name Bdelo is an acronym of our family name BISCHOF, which is originally a German name, and the rest is developing local opportunities, because it's about the legacy of my families, the heritage of my family as farmers, and my region is known in Kenya as the breadbasket of the country, and obviously, hopefully also the region. Our mission is to be a market leader in the production of healthy and tasty foods and snacks. And our pillars is our values, which is our commitment to superior products that will contribute to healthy and fun lifestyles. Our awards, as Isolina mentioned, we were really honored to be recognized in 2019 under the Africa Fodex Awards for the Gold Award Snack of the Year and winner Best Ingredient Innovation. This is one of its kind. It was one of the first recognitions under the Fodex, because they were looking at how to motivate, how to encourage innovation in terms of food ingredients on the continent. And we were really among the first, because we are one of the companies that started to not only use normal raw materials such as maize, but we ventured into our indigenous raw materials, which I will shortly share. Our value proposition, and this is really our selling point. We are all natural. If you look at today's foods, especially processed, there's a lot of artificial flavorings. There's what most would call MSG, there's preservatives, there's conservatives, there's emulsifiers. We are truly natural, because as I was growing up, I discovered how my grandmother, because we didn't have fridges those days, how she actually managed to cook her food and would stay for almost a week without refrigeration. And I discovered that the cooking method that she was using, and we integrated that into our processing, and it is unbelievable, because our products are self-preserving in very unique ways. Our products are no fat added, so we try not to add any fat unless in some of them that are prepared. We are totally gluten-free. We are halal certified, because we have our population of our people in Eastern Africa who are Muslims, and they value this preposition. Our products, obviously being natural, they are good in a source of dietary fiber, suitable for vegetarians. And there are two major ones, really rural development, because we work with farmers. We deal with crops that are generally grown and by rural communities, and particularly women. Obviously, I think today everybody is looking at how we mitigate climate change. We're very proud, as one of the recognition we got was based on climate smart crops. And we were delighted to be the only company during that selection that had the top 4 climate smart crops. So we really pride ourselves as a company that really looks after the planet, and our food products are good for the planet as well. So this is what we consider really a strong positioning of our products. Now I'll just briefly show you our main products. As Isolina said, our main product is maize, but we innovated I would say the Mexican traditional way of preparing maize, and we upgraded it, or we enhanced it by fusing with high-value seeds, grains, vegetables, herbs, and legumes. So our current product range are chips, 13 fusions. We have tortillas, which many might know as chapatis or wraps. We have 6 fusions, and masa dough, which is obviously the dough that we create from the cooking the maize. Our key product range for the chips, we have our superfood, and as I mentioned, we are utilizing our local raw materials, which are mainly millet. We have sweet potatoes, we have arrowroots. We fuse with nutritious greens like kale, which we call in Kenya sukuma. We use moringa, we use shea, we use simsim, we use all kinds of really superfood grains. These are just a few of our superfood at the moment. And these are locally available in Eastern Africa. This is our range for the Middle East. As I mentioned, we have started developing our product range for here. So we had to adapt the colors, the packaging for the Middle East. It's the same product range. We also have added avocado chip, which is very unique, and simsim, which is very popular here in the Middle East. We have our fusion range. As you can see there, we have za'atar, which is a common spice here in the Middle East. The beauty of our product is its versatility to be varied and localized to meet the individual regional or national or local preferences. We also have the tortilla range, which is currently, we are not selling it in Eastern Africa, but now we're selling it here in the Middle East. So this is the tortilla range. We have the kale moringa, we have shea, we have millet, we have simsim, sweet potato, and maize fusion. Now, just to talk quickly about our opportunity, there is indeed growing demand for healthier foods and products. As you can see, the gluten-free alone in 2020 to 2025, it's a 5.6 billion opportunity and ranging to 8 billion. The growing prevalence of lifestyle conditions such as diabetes, obesity is obviously one that really speaks to our vision and mission as a company. The increased focus on green and climate resilient food crops obviously adds to our value and our, I would say, our philosophy as a company. And again, also, we focus on how to make our foods accessible and less destructive on the planet. Currently, these are our distribution chain. We are quite covered in Kenya through the major supermarkets. Our export sales distribution is to Uganda, Tanzania, Sudan, Burundi at the moment in Eastern Africa. We started sampling in 2022 in Saudi Arabia, and now in the Kingdom of Bahrain, we are really having our own facility where we package, we adapt to the local needs. We're also available online. These are the shopping online for Kenya at the moment, but we're developing now for the Middle East and hopefully for the rest of the countries in Eastern Africa. Our impact, as I already mentioned, really we are focused on healthier and fun lifestyles. we want to be the partner in this area. And I think since COVID, there's been increased interest, there's been increased awareness, and we want to be partners to those customers that are really focusing on this segment. Foreign earning and job creation is vital for our region. Agriculture is the core activity in our countries, especially Kenya, and it's critical that there is value addition, there is export, and also that jobs are created. And we're really happy to be contributing to the aspirations of Kenya. Rural development and progress is vital. Food security, value addition, and commercialization. Again, as I said, we are focusing on really indigenous raw materials that have not been commercialized. And also because the more you commercialize it, the more it creates interest for the farmers to grow, and hopefully they also get income. And our aim is obviously to create market for indigenous foods normally grown by women in rural communities. We are definitely contributing to the Sustainable Development Goals, which is no poverty, good health and well-being, decent work, and economic growth. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I will thank you for the opportunity to speak about Bdelo.
Thank you to you, Elizabeth, to join us from Bahrain. Really fascinating stories we are hearing, and very, very, very nice products. Actually, I've noted a few for myself, especially with moringa, but very, very innovative, actually, very, very nice stories. You have some questions already in the question answer part, as well as on the chat. So keep looking at them, because we will come back during our panel discussion on standards, on how you have managed to comply with some of the regulations of the different markets, EU and other markets you are selling to. So we come back to this one. We go now to the next company, and this is to Rwanda. Sakina USENGIMANA, from the founder and CEO of Afrifoods, who is joining us from Rwanda now. She's an entrepreneur, also very, very active, a premium horticulture company that exports fresh Rwandan produce, especially chilies and avocados, across the world. She has a very strong business management entrepreneurship background and skills. She developed an agribusiness growing produce to sell domestically and then globally. And after several attempts to try growing pepper and tomato, she established her own company, expanding to the Middle East again, and also to Europe. She's very much recognized now as a brand in the Rwandan export market, especially for its habanero and bird eyes chilies and avocados, which actually is very much present here in Europe from where I sit now. But you are already branching other produce, very diversifying passion fruit, bitter lemon, eggplant, etc. You will tell us more about that. Also very committed, like most of our speakers, on your relations with the smallholders, but also on reducing waste, food waste, which is a responsibility for all of us. Thank you very much, Sakina, and the floor is yours to present your company. Thank you. You are muted, Sakina.
Yes,
but
yes, I say thank you so much for the opportunity, and I really thank also other entrepreneurs. The presentation was really good and inspiring. So my name is Sakina USENGIMANA. I'm the Managing Director of Afrifoods Limited. Afrifoods, we do export of fresh fruit and vegetables. This picture you are seeing here, it is in our pack house operation, where we do sorting and grading. So Afrifood, our mission is to make sure we aim for sustainable agriculture. I don't know if you're all seeing it in Africa, that we have a land, but how do you use it? And then how can we make sure we can have a sustainable agriculture that also can meet the international standard? So Afrifood was started in 2019. I really founded it, and some of the part of it, she said it. So I founded Afrifood in 2019, and it comes as way of making sure we can have international standard produce that can be exported. So we work with outgrowers, which is one of the big part of us, because we want to work with the community, and as we cannot be able to access a lot of land, then how about working with the cooperatives, and also we work with around 500 farmers. So our vision, we want to be a leading and preferable premium exporter of agriculture processed and also fresh produce by 2030. Currently, we are only working with, we are only dealing with fresh fruit and vegetables, but in the future, we're really looking forward to start adding value of some of our produce like chilies. So this is some of the values. Everyone who do export, they know that it's always very good to communicate with the client, and also we have integrity, and also most importantly, also we are looking at the impact that we are making with our farmers by increasing their household income, and making sure they can really do farming as a professional work, not just doing as a hobby and also losing money instead of earning money. So the produce, so currently we export to the Europe and also Middle East. Maybe on the next slide, I'll be showing some of the percentage of the country we export to, but currently we export to Germany, UK, Belgium, France, and among other countries. And also we export habanero, bada, chili, avocado, which is Hass and Fuerte, but mainly we specialize on Hass. And also we want to grow with the passion fruit, French beans. We currently actually have around 3 hectares that is in production, but these 3 hectares is just working as a demonstration farm, because our model is we want to work more with farmers. We also have, we export eggplants, which is the variety. There's Thai eggplant, there's Chinese eggplant, so there's different type of eggplants. So but this is a small quantity that we export outside. So as I was saying, this is the percentage, mainly more of our product that goes to the Europe and also Middle East. So what is Afrifood impact? So we are currently working with around 500 farmers and 5 cooperatives across the country. And as I have been starting saying that we really need to make sure we can be able to produce and export high quality produce, which is going to the premium market. So we make sure we train our farmers. So through different partnerships, we have been able to train around 400 farmers on a good agriculture practices. So we currently have around 16 permanent employees, and also 95% are youth. So for me, and as Afrifood myself also, I'm so much interested in empowering women and youth. So we have a casuals. There's the one you see on the first picture where you see we do sorting and grading. So these workers, they come depending on the work we have or the quantity of the produce you're going to export. So we have around 60 to 30 employees. So we provide internship to university students who also come to learn what they have been studying. And now one of the things is 2 of them who have been doing internship with us, we gave them a permanent job. So we are trying to create jobs opportunity and also opportunity for students who graduated in agribusiness so that they can come and see what the market needs. So increasing household income and also making sure we can export more, and also for the local market, this is one of the plan we want to do. So we have different partners. I can name few. I can say even Carrefour, this is one of the supermarkets that we work with. I can say University of Rwanda, Agra, and other partnership, even as now you are seeing that we are able to say what we do. This is a good exposure for any entrepreneurs so that they can be able to connect with everyone. So Thank you so much. So this is the summary of Afrifood, and if you need more of like what you can do, what we do, you can check our website, and also you can reach out on the social media. We're very active and we can be able to continue in touch. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Sakina. Very interesting as well. Thank you very much for keeping with the time. Many questions already to you and the two previous speakers. I have to say that Neville, who was our last speaker in this first session, is getting a train now. You know that here in Europe, he's going to Germany currently. He's not in Zimbabwe, and there are many strikes, and he has got problems. So he had delays. Hopefully, we will get him in the second part. So without delaying our session, what I will do is to go now to Yasmin. So we'll go a bit to the discussions part, and then we will get back as soon as he comes to Neville and to our, of course, debate questions. So if you are ready, Yasmin, to join us from Geneva. I think you are, at least your organization is in Geneva. Yasmin for CATS works for CATS International as a program officer and a researcher. She has been very much working on the e-commerce governance, very much involved on MSMEs as well as women empowerment, especially on trade, as well looking at the trade and climate change linkages. I encourage you to go to CATS International website as well for some of the papers, extremely interesting, many publications, many webinars, so many kind of resources that you need, market access, gender considerations in trade, and you would have seen that we have many women presenting their businesses, looking also at regional agreements, including within the Africa integration, and of course all the special and differential treatment. So very strong background on economics and European law as well. Thank you very much for joining us, Yasmin. You have a small PowerPoint. Yes, that's great. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isolina. I hope you are hearing me well and you can see my screen, yes, which I'm sharing my presentation. Excellent. Thank you so much for the invitation. I've been following up some of the session innovations by COLEACP, and they've been very interesting, especially seeing those women entrepreneurs in the agro-processing field from Africa makes me feel so proud. So thank you so much. I'm going to go into what COTS has been doing recently, particularly to support SMEs integration in cross-border trade. COTS, as you said, is an NGO. We are in Geneva, and we try to bring this Southern pro-development voice in Geneva through research and analysis in trade and economy, advocacy and building awareness, networking and partnerships, and also providing training and capacity building on trade-related issues, as well as economic development issues and environmental issues. We adopt an approach which is pretty much a bottom-up. We try to encourage the engagement of key stakeholders in the decision-making process and in policy-making, whether at the national level or at the international level. We have a consultative status at UNCTAD, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, and the World Trade Organization. We are also an accredited NGO at the UNFCCC, and we participate on yearly basis in the COPs. We have sister organizations also in the South, in India, Kenya, Zambia, Vietnam, and Ghana. We have 4 work programs: the trading system, functioning markets, climate and environment, food and agriculture. And you can see how these are very well connected. Now, one of the key projects which is very relevant to our discussions today, and which unfortunately came to an end in 2020, is understanding sanitary and phytosanitary requirements for export. For this project, for example, we've been providing support or preparing 8 national studies on 8 national quality infrastructure in light of SPS and standards for export requirements to the EU market, and 8 national SME manuals for compliance with EU SPS and standard requirements for 3 to 5 select products per country. And those countries are 8 countries: Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ghana, Morocco, Rwanda, Senegal, and Tunisia. So for each country, we had 2 publications, a manual, which is more practical, trying to give very on the field advice and best practices of how to those requirements. And the other is a national study which digs deep into how is the national quality infrastructure of the country is being set, how much is it influenced, and what are the key requirements for this in order for SMEs to increase their exports to the EU market. Another project is the PACT EAC, and which is more of an advocacy project, and it tries to involve the infant agro-food processing in East African community into the policy making and also into the negotiations. And by negotiations, I mean the climate negotiations.
Yasmin, I think we missed you. We can't hear you anymore.
Also,
okay, we miss just a little bit. Go ahead, please.
Yes. So for PACT EAC, we try to build over the 8 years networks of national stakeholders who are involved in agro-processing or in the infant agro-processing in those African countries, and bring their voices into policy making and into also international negotiations in the UNFCCC, the COP negotiations, and involving climate change and how to have climate-aware agriculture, but also trade negotiations in the WTO. Another project is the Geneva MISME connection. And here we also try to build bridges between Geneva-based negotiators and delegates, representatives of their countries, and MISMEs on the ground in order to be able to more represent their actual challenges they face to access foreign markets. One of the key publications that we had under this project is Promoting MISMEs and Regulatory Development, Interests and Participation. I would invite you to check this one, where we are suggesting approaches to involving small and medium enterprises in the policy making and regulatory making. Keeping pace with trade developments is another project which is also trying to bridge the gap between policymakers, negotiators in Geneva, and the needs of MISMEs on the ground in various countries and regions, Africa, Asia, and others. And also, we don't forget our WTO focus, the World Trade Organization. A lot is happening there, and we try to also bridge the gap between local stakeholders and the negotiations and discussions happening in the WTO by organizing regional workshops. The latest we had 3 regional workshops from which we brought MISMEs and policymakers and Geneva negotiators together to discuss MISMEs challenges to export to foreign markets and how improvements can happen or take place at the various levels, whether national, regional, and international discussions. We also produced some publications. This is the end of my presentation. However, I would like to share with you some conclusions based on all these projects that I've been involved to. And I have four conclusions that I would like to share with you. The first one is that sanitary and phytosanitary regulations are not static. And this is an important thing to be aware of. As SPS regulations evolve, and ensuring that small and medium enterprises are timely aware of these changes and ready to adapt to it is key to meet market requirements and increase exports. Another conclusion was that certification, based on the studies that we've done at the national level, certification is becoming an increasingly a requirement for the market in Europe. And it is very costly. So bridging that gap of cost and facilitating acquiring these certifications for SMEs is very important these days. The idea is that SMEs have the capacity to get those certifications in terms of their quality, but it is really, it hurts to know that sometimes they are not able to, just because they don't have the ability to pay their cost. Another conclusion is the growing demand for healthier food. And I would like to thank Elizabeth for what she said, that it's not only a requirement because of a regulation, but it's also a requirement because of the consumer and EU markets. And this is important to also take in mind, that the consumer needs in the EU market are evolving, and they are becoming more and more aware of the impact of agri-food processing on health and on the environment. So the consumer part and building awareness on consumer behavior in the EU market is also very important. A last conclusion is that a lot is happening on the regional and international level. A lot of discussions on climate change, environmental impact of agriculture, and other. We have 3 joint initiatives discussing environment and trade issues in the WTO. We still don't know what this will lead to, a negotiation, a future agreement in 3, 4, 5, 10 years. Nobody knows. However, it is important to be aware that these discussions are happening, and it is important as well to make sure that SME's voice is being brought up into those discussions. Thank you so much again, Isolina, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Yasmin, for bringing that policy trade aspect, the MSME group at the WTO, which is actually very interesting. And of course, on the standards and certifications that we can work closely with COLEACP, as it's a part of our core work as well. Our colleague Koen will also give us some insights afterwards. So thank you very much. Indispensable to get the voice of MSMEs where it counts. I have been told, Axel told me that Neville is with us now in between 2 trains. So Neville MCHINA is the CEO of GreenStone Foods, a Zimbabwean company. Is also an entrepreneur of the diaspora and wants to make a difference economically, ecologically, and of course socially to his community and his the society he lives in. He has co-founded, Neville has co-founded several companies, Rise Together for Africa, which empowers the diaspora. In 2019, FruitCon, which is a consultancy and market linkages to farmers and exporters services. In 2019, GreenStone, which is the one, GreenStone Foods, who we know actually better, working with farmers, local communities to trade local fresh and processed products, especially pineapples, locally and internationally, I believe, exporting to the EU, creating, of course, more jobs, and is also very, very passionate and action-oriented on reducing food losses. So thank you very much. I hope you are still there. Thank you very much. I know that you are on leave and you are traveling. So, and I see the train. You know, you have to be young to do these kind of things. So thank you very much, Neville, for joining us. Axel will help you on the slide part in case, and please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Isolina. I'm really honored to be present here today. Thank you very much for granting us the time. So yes, as Isolina already gave an amazing introduction, my name is Neville MCHINA. I'm originally from Zimbabwe, born and raised there, and I moved to the Netherlands to work in the agribusiness sector, and this is where my entrepreneurial journey started. But today we're going to be talking about GreenStone Foods. And GreenStone Foods was inspired by, as working as a trader on the EU market, basically buying food from farmers from South America, from Southeast Asia, and then eventually in Africa, especially in Kenya with avocados. Then I realized that in Zimbabwe, we could pursue exactly the same model with small-scale farmers. So we started GreenStone Foods. We are located on the eastern highlands of Zimbabwe, and this is one of the most productive areas of Zimbabwe. And over there, we are basically close to the border with Mozambique, and our farmers have been working with pineapples, with mangoes, with bananas, basically since the beginning of time. So what do we focus on? What we realized was that our farmers had been farming pineapples since 1988 and had never commercialized them. And this is how we got started with them. We checked out their pineapples, and then we decided this is going to be the product that we start exporting. So at the moment, we actually export our organic pineapples to, can you hear me? Oh yeah. Next
yes,
slide,
we can hear.
So,
we can hear you, Neville.
Great. So at the moment, we export our pineapples to the Netherlands, and via the Netherlands, we export them to Germany and also to France. France being the main market for our product, because it is a small organic pineapple. We do them by air. It is not suitable to be done by the sea freight, because it cannot really hold out on the sea freight journey, or at least we need to do some more tests on that. But we really provide a nutritious tree-ripened organic pineapple that we're supplying. So at the moment, we're only supplying via the importers, and the importers are the ones that supply to European retail, especially in the German and the French market. We have really strong partners who are continuously buying. And we only started exporting these organic pineapples last year in December. Next slide, please. We work with 44 farmers, and these are the 44 organic certified farmers that we have. However, out of that entire area, basically the 44 are just the smallest bit. There are about 528 farmers that we would like to scale up to. But of course, you can have big dreams, but you need to start really small. So we started with only the 44 that were capable and that had enough experience, whose land and soil we had tested, and who had also been faithful in receiving the trainings. And these trainings were also quite enabled by COLEACP in conjunction with the Dutch government, and this is what helped us. So with these 44 farmers, we have an export capacity of about 300 tons a year, basically. Now, the production is actually about 562 tons, but then 300 tons of this is exportable. Now, you can also see that there is a huge difference there between, I mean, it's actually almost the same, right? What we're able to export and the rest that actually remains on the ground in Zimbabwe. And so we're going to talk about that a bit later when it comes to the innovations. And then our export volume basically from the last season was about 224 tons, and we are hoping to increase that with the time that is going over with the coming years. Next slide, please. as GreenStone, really, like, our value proposition is putting our farmers first. And as you can see at the bottom, our motto is transforming communities through natural foods. And so as GreenStone, this farmer-centric focus is the one that enables us to scale out within our business, and more is going to be explained in the slides that come. But the bottom line is the following. At the end of the day, in the global food system, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in South America, whether it's in Africa, the one person who keeps suffering, or let's say profiting less from the food system, is actually the farmer. I remember when I started agribusiness in Germany in 2012, and one of the things that our professor told us was that from every dollar that is made, the farmer only gets something between 15 to 20 cents. And this was quite a big shocker for us, because we thought, how is this even possible? I mean, that's a huge gap between, what is coming out, what the dollar that is made, and how much the farmer actually gets. As I started working in the industry, I realized this even more. Now, a lot of factors contribute to this, and a lot has already been explained. And these are market standards, these are certifications, these are specific trainings that they need to have in order to meet the market needs, or specific things that they need to be doing on their farms in order to do this. And then on top of that is also food waste, because if they're able to, whatever they're able to sell to the actual market is not, let's say, the whole of their production. Right now, we just showed you on our side, we were throwing away basically in the beginning already 45%, which is not export worthy. So we have decided that farmers need to be put first. And this means that the farmer gets most of the profit from what we do. And this also means that the farmer, we start helping the farmer in order to think how they can diversify their income, because they only have 2 seasons of pineapples, one major one and one really small one. And with this kind of situation, then we need to make sure that throughout the rest of the year, the farmer is able to earn more money. And this is where it comes to the next slide, please. Next slide, please. So this is where we moved on to the next products that we are onboarding our farmers on. Because like we said, pineapple is one, it's a very seasonal product. 2, it is also very, it is affected by weather patterns. And then 3, it is, because it is fresh, you will always get quite a lot of food waste from it. And because it is very volatile, you have a limited amount of shelf life. 1 second, please. There's an announcement on the tray.
Neville?
Yes, I continue.
Yes.
Sorry. So we decided, in order to diversify the income of our farmers, we focused on 2 things. One was going wider, and the other one is going deeper. By going wider, we meant that we needed to diversify what kind of products they can farm off season. And this we did by checking out what kind of grains, for example, are available on the EU market or are desired on the EU market, which are the top earners that we could get. We found some clients, and then we decided to focus on chia seeds and quinoa. And so these are the two products that we're already bringing in to the market for 2023 that our farmers are going to have in order to diversify their earnings throughout the year. Next slide, please. Slide. And then on top of that, we realized also that relying on the export market alone is not good enough for the farmers, because then that means that there is a big gap between actually the supply, demand, and also the dynamics that influence this. So in order to buffer for this, we wanted our farmers to also earn from the local market, which is something that they were not doing before. And what did we do for this? We decided to focus on some local good grains that are disaster resistant, drought resistant, and they are going to be able to farm regardless of whether it's a good raining year or a bad raining year. And these 2 are pearl millet and finger millet. These are ancient grains that were already grown in Zimbabwe. And they are also picking up also on the global market. But until then, we are still just going to be selling them on the local market, as well as maize and roller meal, because maize is basically one of the local staples, as some of you may know. And however, it is always affected by whether there is a lot of rain or there isn't a lot of rain. And therefore, we just put this one as the third product that is just there to buffer whatever is happening. Because we really want our farmers to also participate in contributing to food security within the country. We realize that by them being the first to export organic pineapples to the Netherlands, they were so proud of that, that they really wanted to be proud and participating in something that would be able to change or make history, let's say, in the local environment. And so we decided, okay, first of all, we're going to make food security on a global level a top priority for our farmers, and then also food security on a local level a top priority for our farmers as well. Next slide, please.
Go ahead, Neville. Yeah.
Okay. And then, and then on top of that, the issue that I just skipped through earlier on, which was the food waste issue. This is something that is affecting farmers worldwide, on site and also on the export market. What do I mean by this? The story doesn't end when the farmers export their products to the clients. The story ends when the product has fully been sold and the farmers get fully paid. The problem is, if something is exported and it is not sold because the market changed, then the farmer doesn't get paid. And as a result, a lot of exporters across the African continent do well in the first year. At the end of the season, they do bad, and then they get bankrupt and they can never come back. And so we wanted to help our farmers buffer that. And what we did was basically setting up dehydrating machinery on site in Zimbabwe and also on site in the Netherlands in order to be able to capture those.
Neville, we lost you. If you can just perhaps wrap up in 1-2 minutes. Okay, I see that he has connection problems. As we said, he's in a train currently. If not, we...
Sorry.
Yes, go ahead quickly. Yeah.
Yes, I'm back. So I can wrap up real quick. Sorry about that. There was an announcement, so I didn't want to make too much noise. But anyways, food waste is really one of the top topics that is robbing money from within the supply chain. And this is what we want to tackle. We set up drying chambers in Zimbabwe. We set up drying chambers in the Netherlands so that anything that comes from the farms that is not able to be exported or sold on the local market as fresh can be dehydrated and then shipped towards the Netherlands for the export market. As you all know, dried fruit is something that is becoming a lot more trendy. And then also here in the Netherlands, where it is, if any of our clients are not able to sell our products, then they send it back to us. We dehydrate it, and then that means no money is wasted in the chain, no food is wasted in the chain, and then our farmers really get back 100% good value. So what do we need to keep doing the work that we're doing? Well, we need to keep training our farmers. Like we said, we are 44, we want to scale up to 520 farmers by 2025. And so we want to train them on global GAP, social, and organic certification. We also need to certify them. So this is all markets. We also need to scale up our dehydrating machinery because right now our machinery was very small. We were only able to capture about 80 kilos every single week. Now we want to scale that up to be able to handle the tons that are coming out from there, and also do the same here on the export market. And then the last thing that we need is to get disaster-proof local packing house because our farmers are in a bit of a disaster struck area. They've been struck by a cyclone in the last 2 years again. And so these are the things that we would like to scale up on. But in the meantime, we're just going to continue doing all the work, and we'd like to thank KNOPS for everything that they've empowered us with in the last years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Neville, again, for joining us from the train and for the very nice, actually, presentation. I hope you can continue to follow. If you cannot come in, you just can post some of the questions you have already in the chat. If not, we will get back to you with follow-up, depending on how your connection is. But thank you very much already. So before I go to Koen, I would like quickly, I don't know if everybody sees the chat, some of you are in a mobile phone, etc. So quick questions for my panelists, for the companies in particular, because I see that Yasmin has already answered some, but for the panelists, when we get to the debate, please, there are recurring questions, which is more or less for all of you, or take the questions that you can answer the best. One is how difficult it is to establish yourselves in the Middle East or EU markets, and do you have offices, for example, or representations, etc.? And why, in wanting to export and being present in export markets, you are not expanding, or it seems you are not, we are not sure, expanding in regional markets in Africa, or does it help you to do so? How do you incorporate in your work, how difficult it has been to meet public and private standards for your company, which are required for export markets, even if in some cases they are easier than in the EU, but it's changing very fast indeed, as Yasmin said. What is your experience in credit and banking? You didn't mention that very much, so we assume it wasn't a big deal. The quality supply from the farmers, smallholders you work with, how do you ensure export markets being very demanding, that you meet those requirements, especially in terms of quality and supply from the smallholders? If you have started to comply with some of the requirements on, packaging, especially alternatives to plastic, for example, raw materials, kind of substitutions, and so on. And the storage infrastructure was one for Neville. So why you think about that and making in a synthetic way? I will give the floor now to Koen, to my colleague Koen. Koen VANDERHAEGEN is the Market Insights Manager at COLEACP. He's the head of the Market Insights Department, specifically in charge of all the data we all need to know better the markets and the trends, of course, of each of the markets that we, as businesses, you can take those opportunities. So quantitative and qualitative data, a focus on fruit and vegetable trade and markets, especially a big focus on the EU, but not exclusively, monitoring as well other markets that matter for our African, Caribbean, and Pacific companies we do cover. Is also in charge of this market kind of intelligence and business support. So business support is very important because it has ultimately to be linked to the B2B, to agribusiness and fairs, matchmaking, marketing support, etc., which is one other of the core activities of COLEACP. So please, Koen, thank you very much for joining us. I know you are also on leave, so very much appreciated. Our apologies to the family. Please go ahead, Koen.
Okay, thank you, Isolina, no problem. So yes, as you said, today I will present a market study we made on the opportunities for fruit and vegetables from ACP countries on the EU market. So, but first I will quickly introduce you a little bit to the Market Insights Department and how it's situated within COLEACP. So as you can see, COLEACP is organized in three main functional divisions corresponding to the three axes of COLEACP technical approach. Each division of the association includes different COLEACP departments. So we have ensuring market access, where the Market Insights Department is situated, and also research and innovation brokerage and regulations and standards department. And that feeds into strengthening the value chains, which is our second main function. And there we have technical assistance and training department. And that is also feeding into increasing impact at the larger level, where we have network and alliances, access to finance, So just to give a bit of an overview of how COLEACP is organized and where Market Insights is situated. And then the next slide, yes, about Market Insights. So what do? Isolina already said, we provide qualitative and quantitative information to understand the trends in different markets, and with the goal to support action plans at the level of SMEs in the agricultural industry, mainly focusing on fruit and vegetables industry. And all our activities are financed by programs, mainly by the EU and the Organization of ACP countries. And below you can see we provide market studies and interactive dashboards where people can browse data themselves. So you can find those on the COLEACP website. So about the market study I'm going to present, I will quickly take you through the scope and methodology. So the main objective was to understand the market opportunities for fruit and vegetables from ACP origin and with regard to the market trends in the sector in Europe. For this study, we based ourselves on various online data sources, such as Eurostat, CEPIBACI, and others, but also on qualitative information. And these are, for example, insights we got from interviews at the Fruit Logistica trade fair and of importers and exporters in our COLEACP network, because we always try to obtain first-hand information and also to ensure that the data trends we present are confirmed by the experience of people in the sector. And this study was focused on fruit and vegetables, so the HS chapters 7 and 8. So yeah, we try to be macroeconomic, but also operational for SMEs. Next slide. And in the study, the content is actually, we go through consumer trends on the market. For example, the trend of organic food. We go to distribution and marketing of fruit and vegetables in the EU, ACP supply on the European fresh fruit and vegetable market, and we look at opportunities for ACP supply on the European fruit and vegetable market. And the study was elaborated in the framework of the FFM and FFM SPS programs of COLEACP. So next slide about the consumer trends. We can see that in general, the fruit and vegetable consumption in Europe is still increasing, and there is still space for growth. For example, if you see the graph on the left below, we see that the World Health Organization recommends actually a fruit and vegetable intake of 400 grams per person per day, which is about 146 kilograms per year. And if we compare this with consumption estimations by Freshfel, we see that only 5 out of 28 EU countries really meet this level of minimum consumption of fruit and vegetables. So there is still a lot of potential to increase. And yeah, of course, the potential is different for different products, but we will see that when we talk about the specific products. And if we look at the consumer preferences, we still see that, well, this study is actually a second version of the first version that was published in 2017. And we see that still the same similar trends are still present. So consumers want fresh products. They prefer, of course, fresh over processed products. They like natural and healthy products, such as like superfruits, berries, etc. are doing very good. They like easy things that are ready to eat. You can eat it on the go, not too much time to prepare. And also new, and that is coming up more and more, is more and more attention to sustainability. And also to the origin and the story behind the product, but sustainability is really becoming more and more important. Next slide. Another important trend is the organic products. So that's a bit linked with the sustainability. And this is really catalyzing the growth of the entire sector as an alternative of intensive farming. And it's also really promoted by the EU, for example, by the European Green Deal and the farm to fork strategy, which really pushes to go to more and more organic production within the EU. But of course, origins outside of the EU will follow the trend, and organic is becoming really like mainstream. So this is also an opportunity for ACP producers to join this new trend. And if you see below, it's already happening a lot. If you see the market size of organic in the world, we see that in red, the European Union market is growing a lot, and also the North American market, so United States and Canada, and even the Asian market is following the same trend. So it's a big growth in organic. Besides that, the COVID-19 pandemic also had a positive impact on the consumption in Europe. More and more people start to buy fruit and vegetables, were more aware of the health aspect of their food. And also we see that young generation is still interested in exotics, and there is more people going for vegetarianism or veganism. So all things that are in favor of the fruit and vegetable sales. Next slide. If we look at distribution and marketing, we see that ACP fruit and vegetable exports to the EU have increased. Now we are talking, well, the study considers the period between 2009 and 2019. In the meantime, some things have happened with the corona kept influencing, and also the high energy prices. But for this period, we had a strong increase in value of 51% and 26% in volume. So you can see that the value increased stronger than the volume, which means that there is an attractiveness of the EU market for higher quality fruit and vegetables from ACP origin. So, which is not a bad thing. The growth was slightly slower than the total imports from extra EU countries, but still there is a positive trend. And if you look at the retailers, we see that the traditional retailers are still dominant, but we still also expect the arrival of the tech giants like that go for e-commerce, such as Amazon. That will be a growing competition. And we also have ever increasing competition from discounters in Europe, such as Aldi, Lidl, that also invest in their fruit and vegetable offer and have a strong pressure on the prices. And the reaction of the traditional retailers is actually to upgrade their fruit and vegetable sections to increase the appeal, and it's important to show their expertise, the relationship with the producers, and they really go for a sensory experience in the shop. So that's the way they try to compete with the discounters and with the online suppliers. Next slide. Packaging is also an important trend. It's ever more important, avoiding waste. So combining preservation and sustainability with sustainable packaging. There is a trend of going to zero plastics, which has a big impact, especially on things like fresh cut. It will be a big challenge, fresh cut fruit and vegetables. But you can see that recyclable, biodegradable packaging is becoming more and more the standard, or even no more packaging, and labeling without labels, but with edible ink, as you can see on the mangoes there, or using laser technology. So brands can be lasered into, for example, coconuts or other fruits and nuts. Traceability is also important, ever growing of importance. So consumers are more and more interested into the origin of their products. The market is becoming more and more digital. For example, if you look at EOSTA, they have this Nature and More program where a code is put on different fruit and vegetables, and you can look up this code on their website, and then you can see the information on grower, their farm, where it's located, what type of sustainable practices they use. So consumers are more and more interested to know really where their product comes from and what happens in the field and with the farmer and everything. So traceability is needed to link all this information. And And lastly, as I said already, sustainability. Yeah, it's also a double-edged sword because consumers in Europe want actually sustainable products, so they have a preference for short chains. So locavorism, how we call it, so they prefer products from nearby instead of exotics from far away. So this is something ACP countries will have to give attention to and to communicate a lot about the positive impact on economic development and poverty alleviation in ACP countries where the products originate. And also, you know, to put importance in the total production aspect, because counter-season products can be produced in Europe, but they have maybe a bigger footprint being produced here in the counter season than when imported from the south, for example. So yeah, it's important to communicate and to market it smart to go against these new trends. And then there is the next slide. We look at the supply and the opportunities. And as I said, so the supply of fruit and vegetables to the European market has been increasing from ACP countries. So there is a positive trend in growth, and also qualitative, it's improving. But there is always also to consider the regulatory framework in the Europe. So the regulations are always more stringent, more restrictive. So this is a challenge. And also consumer expectations keep evolving and keep increasing. So, and there is a competition with Central and South America that is also a challenge for ACP countries. Next slide. And then in the study, we actually look at a lot of individual products. I will not have time in this presentation to go in depth into each product. So I just give you an overview of all the products that are addressed in the study, and then who's interested can freely download it from our website and look in the study for the different products. So for each product, we look at the ACP exports to Europe, the total imports by Europe from the world, where are the sources of the origin of the product, which countries are importing, etc. So a lot of details are there. And we categorize the products into different levels. So we have main developing European market segments, which are products that are growing fast. The imports are still increasing, and they're quite a substantial volume. In this, you have avocado, banana, organic bananas, lime, coconut, mango, etc. And then you have niche markets with a high development potential, but are still niche, such as sugarloaf, pineapple, or smooth cayenne. Green skin avocado, exotic berries, snow peas. And then you have stable mature markets, so that are very big but not growing anymore, such as MD2, pineapple, banana, plantain, green beans, oranges. So yeah, I invite you to download the study. On the next slide, you can see the link to the study. You can download it for free. And if you have any other questions about the context or anything else, you can always contact us at this email address. And I would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Koen. Very, very interesting. And we are very lucky that now all of you can access the studies, the economic studies of COLEACP, which normally were reserved, of course, you know, so that's a decision that Jeremy has taken recently. So now, before getting back to the enterprises for the questions I mentioned before, Jeremy was kept very quiet, as well as the CEO PAFO. I have a couple of questions and then we get back to you. Please, Jeremy.
Thank you.
And perhaps, Jeremy, for those who arrive, I think I didn't introduce you actually at the beginning. So General Delegate DG of COLEACP, the organization that organizes these sessions with the PAFO. So very strong, of course, business management, entrepreneurship background. We are an association of a non-profit association of private sector operators across Europe, Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific. Jeremy, he has a very strong background on of course, those markets, in addition to Latin America, where he worked before, very much on standards, of course, certification for producers, exporters, currently fruits and vegetables, but the organization has gone through different products at different part of time. So thank you very much, Jeremy.
Thank you very much, Isolina. And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever everybody is. I would like to thank, of course, all panelists for the extremely inspiring stories, cases that we've heard. Just like maybe to share at this stage a couple of comments. Just as Isolina mentioned, so we're a private sector not-for-profit association. In terms of profile of companies, of MSMEs throughout Africa, Caribbean, Pacific countries, but mainly in Sub-Saharan Africa, profile of companies we work with, I would just like to share this first insight to everybody joining this session today. So 3/4 of the companies that we're supporting have a turnover of less than 250,000 euros. And in terms of market diversification, this is something that has evolved quite strongly during the past 10 years. When we look at on average, in terms of volumes commercialized on different markets, we have around a third of the produce of companies supported through programs that we're currently managing. A third goes to the European Union market, including the UK. Another third goes to domestic market, and another third goes to other regional or international markets. I wanted to share this because I think it's particularly illustrative based on the stories that we've been listening to today. Bouncing back on Koen's presentation, and he tried to summarize a bit our approach at COLEACP through the different programs, technical assistance programs that we've been working on during the past 20 years. We've worked very much on the compliance aspect, on supporting compliance of produce commercialized from Africa, Caribbean, Pacific countries, being exported to the EU or commercialized to other markets. And during the past 20 years, if we try to summarize kind of big elements that we have in that supporting compliance, we have kind of compliance and a bit more, and I'll get back to it. We have 3 major steps that we believe can summarize a bit the elements which are needed to be able to successfully sell produce to the EU. And of course, it's not exhaustive, but it gives already a representation. First of all, and I think it really has to be mentioned, even before talking about standards compliance, we need the quality of the product, the reliability, the volumes, and the prices. Especially as Koen mentioned, in a globalized world, on international markets with high competitive pressure also coming from other origins. Then secondly, we have, of course, the big regulatory package, being, of course, and the first elements which come to mind and which we've been focusing very much on by working directly with companies, but also with competent authorities, are of course on the sanitary and phytosanitary side, but also on marketing standards, on labeling, and so all these mandatory requirements. And we have a third category, and this is particularly true for, I would say, high-end destination markets and through specific distribution channels. We have a whole set of private standards. So private standards, in some case, historically, which have followed the implementation of the setting up of regulation. If we have a look at the food safety or on the SPS side, usually we had the private standards following regulatory packages which were set up, or preceding regulatory elements. And I'm thinking here in particular to the range of sustainability related elements that Koen referred to around the social, environmental, and economic pillars, of course, of sustainability. We've seen for a number of years that we had first, I would say, isolated standards, tackling some very specific issues, and then progressively more and more holistic standards. And then today, it's for the European market, but it's the case also on other markets in other parts of the world. An expected entire new regulatory package with the EU Green Deal and Farm to Fork strategy for the agricultural sector. Now, so historically, very much we've been working on compliance, on overcoming challenges. But during the past couple of years, with the multiplication of situations, of disruptions, of crisis, we've increasingly also been working on the other side of things and to try to empower, I would say, as much as to the best of our ability, SMEs to not only be in a position of having to wait and overcome, but being more proactive and being more on the seizing new opportunity side, meaning working on the resilience, on the capacity to manage change. And this is going to be quite a strong axis of our work for the coming years, given the extremely complex, unstable, vulnerable world we are living in. And of course, this means that, of course, innovation will play a key role. Innovation to be able to diversify the type of products, diversify the production schemes, the markets, etc. Now, the common denominator to all our work, and I'll finish here before maybe putting back a question to everybody to be able to debate around it. The common denominator to all our work is really summarized by our vision, growing people. So it's all about, for us, we believe as an organization, our best angle to contribute to making sure basically that the agri-food sector fully plays its role in contributing to sustainable development goals is working on the human capital through working on skills, know-how, knowledge disseminated for all actors along value chains on all topics, following a continuous improvement strategy of continuously working on vocational training. So that's in a nutshell a couple of reactions, and maybe the point I wanted to ask guys is maybe to hear from the different panelists what we've seen through the different companies we've been working with over the years. We've had different scenarios in terms of market diversification strategy. 10-15 years ago, we had pure players that initially were very much focused on the EU market, and then progressively started to diversify towards other markets. And similarly, but during the past 5 years, I would say increasingly, we have a number of companies starting on the local or regional market, then ultimately aiming at exporting part of their produce to the EU or to other markets. And one of the elements I would like to hear is really what panelists, company managers here believe in terms of complementarity between the key learnings that they have of selling produce on these different markets, being on the compliance side, being on working according to a certain set of requirements, even beyond standards and regulations, but the type of experience it brings and the kind of competitive edge it can bring to companies to fully leverage their positioning on other markets. So that's something I wanted to share with panelists and the audience. So thank you, Isolina.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jeremy. And I think Dr. Babafemi OYEWOLE, who is the new CEO of the Pan-African Farmers Organization, had also a question, and then we go straight to the companies. Dr. Babafemi.
Thank you, Isolina. And thank you, Jeremy, for us sort of summarizing most of these presentations. And I want to also thank the presenters for the high quality of presentations that they made, and the practical illustration of their experiences as entrepreneurs. Also, I just want to say that the PAFO is advocating for a enabling environment for farmers to be able to produce and also to be able to access the market. Because like somebody said that out of the $1 that is made, only 10 to 15 cents goes to the farmer, which is very low. And one of the mission of PAFO is to be able to bring policies that will increase the share of farmers in the value chain. What is being realized from participating in the value chain. The question I want to ask, number one, is from the presenters and the SMEs entrepreneurs, how are they competing with the European producers? How are they competing with them? What are the challenges that they are facing competing with them? And also, value addition to agricultural products remains a major challenge to African farmers. And what are the strategies that can be done that can be implemented to overcome it, so that the farmers can access international and local markets more easily? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much again. So we go back to our panelists. Quickly, you remember the questions, a few added now. So perhaps we can get in the reverse order. Neville is not connected for now from the train. So we go to Sakina. Sakina, you remember you had a number of questions I posed before. Hopefully you have prepared a bit the answers. In addition, thanks to the many responses you provided to the chat already. Please, Sakina.
Yes, I'm here. Yes, so some of the question I have seen it was some of access to finance, which I say some of the challenges is collateral, having not like trusted the financials. They think agribusiness, even export, because we don't have yet insurance. For example, if you send a shipment to the Europe, so that you have insurance just in case something happened to your produce, so that they can be able to pay it. So they think it's perishable, they think it's very insensitive. So taking risk, you find it is not that easy for them. So it's still a challenge, but we are advocating, looking forward even to work with development banks, so that we can be having guarantee, and also they help us with the cash flow, even through the investment, because also agriculture investment, we still need to invest more. So some of also other challenges was about the farmers. How do we do the terms of contract? But for our models, we do our best to work with the local governments, so that they can help us in coordination and also transparency in terms of a contract, how going to be paid. And then another thing I have seen, which is very successful, is to work closer to the farmers, so that you don't go there when you're going to harvest. Just visit them on a daily basis, supporting them. And as we provide also capacity building, it's help us to understand what they need and how we can help them. And also when you see at seed, accessing the input also is still a challenge for them. I can mention like seed. There's a question in French. I don't know, my French is still not good. So someone maybe can translate so that I can be able to answer it.
Yes, you had a question as well on the export markets, but if you had any plan to also expand regionally, and again, the same question that comes back, the interaction between exports and then local markets in whatever you start, of course, the business. Do you also plan to expand regionally or to other?
Yes, I do definitely plan to expand regionally, but some of the challenges is the facilities. So now the facilities we are using is a fabric and for the export. So when also we want to do like on the local market, we need another facility. So when we are able to invest in such infrastructure or having them available for local market, then that will make more sense. But currently we will be starting slowly with the with the wholesaler, for example, with the hotel, restaurant. But this is also a development of a chain. For example, now with the avocado, with the chilies, with French beans, eggplant, we have these farmers who already trained. So if we venture to another crop, then it still also need more investment. So we are going step by step. but definitely something we want to do. There's a market in Kenya, there's market even in other countries across Rwanda, like region.
Sakina, do you want to add anything else from what you heard or what you had said in addition to the questions? Do you want to, before I go to Elizabeth?
Yeah, and also there's one question I saw someone saying, oh, you know, can I export small quantity? Yes, you definitely can. You can. We started with 400 kg. Today we can export around 300 tons. So this is something that people have to know. And what I can say also, they have to do research and also looking for institutions like COLEACP, like supporting them, giving even exposure of platform like this, where you can listen to other either exporters or producers who are doing something that you want to do. And I think this is what can make anyone successful, and just keep pushing. Either you have a problem in this area, you just look for someone who can assist you. Thank you so much. And thank you for the opportunity of today.
Thank you, Sakina. I see that some of you have already invited to speak at other events. And as Jeremy said, yes, COLEACP, of course, with many partners, and PAFO, one and many others, we do support the entrepreneurs on the different parts of the requirements. And when we cannot do it ourselves, we do link, like with finance and other research, etc., with key parts. Elizabeth, what about you? Very popular as well from the very active chat.
Thank you very much, Isolina. And thank you everyone for your attention and compliments. It's really, really refreshing and always uplifting. For those who have asked questions, I think I've responded to you directly. And anybody who wishes more information, please contact me privately. I would be very delighted to share, because personally, I have grown in my business through networking, through gauging information from all places and areas. Now, coming to a couple of things, financing continues to be a huge challenge for African agribusinesses. Personally, I think I'm the only one out of the panelists who actually does true value addition, really processing product, not from, for the fruits, for vegetables. I think that has been really traditional for Africa. And it's unfortunate that actually it is sad that we get Kenyan green beans back to Kenya through Mbok, because they go to Belgium, they're washed, they're frozen, and then they're brought back to Africa, because we have not taken value addition to the next level. It is really sad, and that's how we cannot get more money for our farmers. If we only export raw material, it's a tragedy. I see here, even in the Middle East, the Australians buy our coffee for $2 a kilo. They come back to the Middle East for $100 a kilo. Actually, the most person that suffers the most is not the farmer, it's actually the consumer. It's unfair, the value chain. The value chain is not it's so fragmented, and it is not coordinated and structured and integrated. This is why there are opportunities for exploitation, for overpricing. Eventually, when you think that pineapples from Africa, they are processed here into juice, can Europe take actually African juice? This is the challenge I have, because they trust, they believe in a product processed in Africa. I've tried to export my products to Europe. They actually expect it to be much cheaper than those in Europe, because they think that the value, the quality is. This is where we need to work on. How do we support African raw materials? Go at least to the next level of processing so the money can stay home. It is so unfair. It is so sad that actually we have traditionally and continue. Now we have local issues. We have policy issues in our countries. We have infrastructural issues. We have also the value chain, the really, I would say, professionalizing farming and looking at farming actually as a source of income and as a source of livelihood. We have huge things to do. ourselves in our countries before we can look up to Europe or other countries to come in and help us. In agriculture, I have seen the most successful countries. I was fortunate to live in Switzerland for 25 years. I saw how Switzerland has actually managed their farming. They have from A to Z. It has been made so that it's possible to export Swiss cheese globally. It has been possible to export Swiss chocolate globally because of the integrated service and the grand coalition from all stakeholders. We must see that everybody in Africa is part and parcel of the farming, agriculture, value chain, and integration. Now, for my case, I have had to come to the Middle East. I could not export my finished products from Kenya, sadly, because they do not trust my product. So what I have done is, okay, I have taken pre-processed and then finalize here. So basically, I take my raw material, come and fry, package it here so they can certify themselves. Africa, we have a long way to go to gain trust, to gain credibility, to gain the benefit of the doubt that what we do truly is quality, sustainable, and competitive. This is where we have a lot. So thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. You had told me in our conversations that your experience in the Middle East, which is also a demanding market and is coming more and more demanding, had helped you, and will help you to get to other markets, for example, the EU and in the region. So this is to show that you really process products which are at a level where, of course, is excellent, but not known as the traditional African products. Those markets where you are in now will help you to expand, hopefully in Africa through the Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement, but also to the EU.
Absolutely. And yes, I think for the
that's
EU,
the good news.
Yes, absolutely. And I think also it will develop trust and also give us, I would say, testimony that we have a good product. Now, Africa, we have the potential, we have the products, we just need really hand-holding. We still need to be handheld like little babies because the value chain is so tedious, it's so complex. It's so unpredictable. It's so risky. That's why nobody wants to finance. We need those soft money so that we can reach there because our banks, they are also business. They must secure themselves. Agriculture is the most unpredictable, more risky because just recently I paid my farmers, my potato farmers money and I gave them seeds. All of a sudden, there was no rain for 3 months. We lost everything. How can I go back to the farmers and demand payment? They have lost, I have lost. This is where institutions need to come in with irrigation, to mitigate these kind of risks so that the processors, the exporters, the distributors, the marketers can really rely on the supply chain. Supply chain is critical.
Very true, Elizabeth. Absolutely, you are absolutely right. And that's why we have to show, despite the difficulties, more and more, which is the objective we have in these sessions with PAFO, more and more businesses that, despite all these difficulties, local owned and local led, succeed, and that is still, even if it's a difficult area, I mean, it can be a lucrative area. And you bring back something to the communities, which is very, very important. So
just one final thing. Just on
Please,
the financing.
final.
For the financing, for me, I could not go to any bank. Nobody would accept. So what I did with my partner, we separated. I went out, looked for a job in the middle of the desert for 6 years. I was financing the business. This is how tough it is. It's really painful. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing those experiences. But when we see the final result, I would say it's worth, though. It's worth. And you see from the chat, it's very exciting to see African entrepreneurs to get to that level. So keep up with the good work and inspiring all of us. Hasina, on ne vous a pas oublié. Vous avez bien noté quelques-unes. Merci d'avoir répondu à certaines des questions.
I have forgotten you. Thank you for answering some of the questions we had. Could you please summarize what you would like to share with us? Thank you very much. Yes. Well, there are some questions that I wrote down here. How did I manage to have Japanese clients and clients in Japan? Well, like for everything, I just talked about my products, showed them, showcased them, and I had the opportunity to learn Japanese and the Japanese culture when I was a girl, and this helped probably. And but the most difficult thing is to maintain the loyalty of a client. And you also need to offer quality all the time. Somebody else asked me about the shelf life of a product at 2 years, and some other person talked about losing the organoleptic properties when I am drying my products, where we use a very low temperature for drying, and the organoleptic characteristics are preserved. Finally, as for the regional market, yes, at this stage, it is true that we haven't been prospecting it, but we're open to investigate this, and we're trying to penetrate the Mauritian and Reunion markets, or all the regional markets around Madagascar. Thank you very much for inviting me, and it was a true pleasure. Thank you very much. If you have nothing else to add, I will maybe ask.
I think you have answered most of the questions online, but very successful as well. If you want in 2 minutes to add something to the very inspiring experiences, and I hope that those would be involved as well in the activities you do at policy level, and to get more voices of MSMEs who, of course, struggle a lot.
Yes, I just wanted to make the link with, for example, this trend of less use of plastics. This is a subject that is being discussed now among 72 countries. Most of them are developed countries, which are destination for your products, for the African products in the WTO. What will it lead to? We don't know yet, but it's being discussed, and it might very likely lead to decisions, whether at the national level of those countries or later on to international agreements. Now, on the regional aspects, I wanted to also mention that now we have AFCFTA, which has come into force. However, from the discussion and from the presenters today, what I could get is that it is not clear the opportunities lying there to them. It is not clear what are the opportunities that AFCFTA can bring to them. It is not clear what the regional market brings as an opportunity to them. And most importantly, it is not clear what kind of value chain and added value can regional value chains promote. And I think that AFCFTA can be very successful if this particular trait that has been highlighted strongly by Elizabeth, exploring how can we have value addition through regional integration and regional value chains across Africa. This will bring the solution to the lack of trust in Africa's capacity, and also open more opportunities for the African markets and for the African products, and not only developed countries' perspective of having raw material from the South. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yasmin, and looking forward strengthening our collaboration. I think there is not much to add to the very, very exciting discussion this morning, especially the focus being the experiences of the businesses. There are a few more actually in the chat about how to connect with other entrepreneurs, how to have MSMEs platforms, how to have distributors. All those, please, Axel, who you know, Axel is working with me and PAFO in those sessions, is putting an email where please send us all your ideas, and we will connect with the right partners if we cannot do it ourselves. So you have the email there as well. Certainly will continue. You were very right, Yasmin. I wanted before giving the floor, if Babafemi has something to add in the closing remarks, that the PAFO had done a study on the the awareness of MSMEs into the ICFTA, and is very, very low. So you are very right that we have to work on that as well. COLEACP, as Jeremy said, works also on regional markets, and very often the experience on very competitive export markets help the entrepreneurs to meet quality standards, much more needed as well in Africa markets, of course. So this is an area we can work together in. We are also very lucky to have, I was not aware, so thank you for following from a participant perspective, the chair of the board of COLEACP, who is a Ghanaian entrepreneur, very, very experienced. So if he doesn't mind, I will give him the floor as well if he wants to add. The last time he joined us was on youth, young entrepreneurs, so it was very successful. But Babafemi, do you want to add something now that we conclude on behalf of PAFO? It's always the start of a conversation. We keep saying we can never finish those topics, but more importantly is to highlight entrepreneurs' experiences. Babafemi, CEO of PAFO, newly CEO of just joined.
Thank you, Isolina. I just want to really commend you for the professional way you handled the event, and again commending all the participants, particularly the presenters, and also the various partners that contributed to the event. We see that this is a very good platform for SMEs and farming organizations to really showcase their experiences and challenges they are facing in trying to export their products to not only locally, also regionally and internationally. And I believe that the experiences that have been shared in this session is very, very instructive to all the intending prospective entrepreneurs, SMEs, and which I think we enable them to really overcome whatever challenges that these other businesses are currently facing as they go into the international market. Once again, I want to thank you very much, Isolina, for organizing it, and COLEACP for the support they are always giving to PAFO in this regard. And we have come a long way now. This is the 10th edition. We are believing that, as you said, the survey that has been done, we are going to look at the results and from there draw how we're going to improve if it's necessary on the subsequent editions. Thank you very much, everyone, and I wish every one of us all the best in all our endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Babafemi. I don't know who has to thank and congratulate who, but I leave that apart. I mean, yourself as a lead of PAFO and the excellent team you have, I mean, who have made this success, and the links to the smallholder farmers, the evaluation, the survey. I thank you again, and Axel will provide for our next session a small Axel. If you put your camera on, then people will recognize, because you exchange with many of them, but we never see you. Voila, Axel. young, as you can see, very active, and she will share some of the results of the survey that you have been so kind to answer. In our next session, you will receive all the presentations again, the recording of the session as well by email. I thank all my colleagues who are online that are not seen, but work in the background, as well as PAFO colleagues for the support. I would like to thank, of course, the interpreters that make even our dialogue possible. Above all, of course, our entrepreneurs, which are really the part that I like very much, the EU and the OECPS as a support. And I thank very much, because I'm always impressed that the Caribbean entrepreneurs are as well, and partners are always online, even at the most difficult times in the region. While this is Africa, I mean, they are very interested and vice versa in those experiences. That explains the South-South experiences that OECPS and COLEACP are so keen about. But without major delay, thank you so much to all. And now the floor, I'm very amazed, Dr. Stephen Minta, that you were among the participants quietly. Fortunately, I've just been told by a little spy I have checking participants. So thank you so much for being with us from Ghana, the chairman of the COLEACP, and for being kind to, if you don't mind, of course, to say a few words. And with that, we will conclude our session.
Thank you very much, Isolina. I've sat through the session since the beginning, and I'm particularly happy about the continued collaboration between COLEACP and PAFO in ensuring the continuation of these sessions. This particular session has been very encouraging. I'm happy about the presentations that have been made by the various presenters, particularly about job creation and the involvement of women. Great efforts at marketing, especially the export section. Very happy about the diversification efforts some of them have undertaken. The local market innovations, very insightful. I was very happy to hear that. And then using waste to create this innovation. These are very insightful. And I think they present many lessons to a lot of other entrepreneurs, for which all of us are learning from. I thank you so much, COLEACP and PAFO, for these efforts. And finally, let me thank our donors, OECPS and EU, for their support for all these activities. I'm sure the next session will also be very revealing as well. Thank you very much, everyone who was present. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, for your encouragements, which make these things possible. And bye-bye to everybody. Keep well, keep safe, and thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.